as a progressive, proud member of this body for the last 12 years, I'm done. I'm done with us protecting people who would buy and abuse our children. I'm done.
That was California Senator Susan Talamantes talking about SB 1414. Essentially, the bill would make it a felony if you solicit sex from a minor, and this bill was proposed because currently that would be considered a misdemeanor under California law. The reason why Talamantes is so upset is because after this bill was introduced, there were multiple leftist senators who opposed it and introduced amendments to change the bill. One of those state senators is Scott Wiener. And as far as I can tell, he is not related to Anthony Weiner in any way, but hey, you never know. To give you an idea of Weiner's politics, here's a short clip. After you watch it, you will probably not be too surprised that he is one of the senators proposing amendments to change this bill.
So proud of Sister Roma and her work in the community, and I'm proud of California for standing strong to support LGBTQ people.
As far as the bill itself, here's a local news report that gives you a little more information.
Right now, an adult soliciting a minor for sex in California is a misdemeanor. Senate Bill 1414 would make it a felony. The author of the bill is Republican State Senator Shannon Grove. The original proposed law would make it a felony for anyone who solicits sex from a minor. The proposed punishment would be up to 4 years in prison and up to a $25,000 fine. Grove also proposes to have the buyers register as sex offenders for 10 years. The bill was in a hearing before the Senate Public Committee, and there was a disagreement on some of the language of the bill. Grove rejected the amendments. Those amendments make it so that the law does not apply to those who buy a 16 or 17-year-old for sex, and it would only apply if the victim was 15 or younger. The committee approved the bill with the amendments by a vote of 4-0. It now heads to the Senate Appropriations Committee.
We're going to move next to file item 26. This is Senate Bill 1414 by Senator Grove. Secretary, please read.
Senate Bill 1414 by Senator Grove, an act relating to crimes.
Senator Grove.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Colleagues, today I rise to present SB 1414 regarding the solicitation of children. Members, as you may know, 3 members of the Public Safety Committee forced amendments without my consent and watered down SB 1414 by taking out stricter penalties for those who try to buy sex from kids. Since that committee hearing, there's been a lot of misinformation shared regarding this bill, so I would like to take this opportunity to clarify a few of those points. My bill language in SB 1414 attempted to make the solicitation agreeing to engage in or engaging in any act of commercial sex with a minor by an adult a prison felony and a sex offender registration on the second offense. To be clear, I believe that any adult who attempts to or actually engages in to buy children for sex in the state of California should go to prison on a felony charge. Disappointingly, the hostile amendments watered down the language and excluded 16 and 17-year-old children from these additional protections. The punishment was reduced to a wobbler for those who would purchase sex from kids that are 15 years old and younger. As a point of clarification, a wobbler can be charged as a local jail felony or a misdemeanor, meaning a rich man could purchase sex from a poor girl and just pay a fine up to $10,000 to buy their way out of a crime. All amendments forced on this bill are unacceptable, but the notion that 16 and 17-year-old children are somehow less deserving of additional protections is absolutely absurd. Opponents of the bill, including the Public Safety Chair, have stated that this bill has nothing to do with human trafficking. Colleagues, the act of human trafficking includes sex trafficking. In order to be sex trafficked, one must be sold for sex. In order to be sold, a price has to be negotiated and services have to be solicited. The one thing all sex trafficking cases in the state of California have in common is they are all involved the solicitation of services. Let's be clear about solicitation. We're talking about propositioning someone and negotiating terms. In the case of SB 1414, we're addressing adults that are negotiating to have sex with children. Opponents of the bill state, and I quote, "The crime in this bill is about solicitation, meaning words only, not about committing the actual act." I'd like to clarify this mistruth. The bill absolutely addresses the physical act of adults engaging with kids for sex. If you read the language, it specifically says engaging in any act of commercial sex with a minor. Please bear in mind that if you don't include stricter punishments for the negotiation phase during the solicitation, the next opportunity that we have to levy harsh penalties is after the act has already been completed and the child's innocence has been shattered and they have been completely scarred for life. However, let's talk about words that were used in solicitation. Colleagues, I have a lot of words to choose from that was provided to me from my law enforcement partners. Lots of words. After careful consideration and consulting with some of my friends on this floor and my law enforcement partners regarding these examples of men soliciting children for sex, I would absolutely love to use these words to give you a complete description of the things that we've had to read through to research and present this bill. But I have no doubt within the first exchange I would be shut down for inappropriate language used on this floor. And I have no doubt that if any media coverage took place today, it would bleep out every other word that I say. Yet children have to engage not only in these conversations, but in the acts themselves. These exchanges are graphic, they're sickening, they're evil, and usually they are the last step before a child that is sexually exploited or assaulted by an adult. Recently, the Sacramento County Sheriff's Department performed Operation Spring Cleaning, in which they went after online predators attempting to meet or engage in sex with children. One adult man thought he was soliciting a 10-year-old for sex. He showed up at a hotel expecting to meet a small child. He had straps in his pocket to tie the child down. He had child-sized lingerie, sex toys, and lubrication. Members, again, I reiterate, we have to attempt to step in and stop these predators before they actually complete the act and devastate the child's lives forever. It's unbelievable that we fight in this building to protect minors, sometimes up to the age of 21 years old, from tobacco use, vaping, alcohol, and even tanning beds. But some legislators don't want to include additional protections for 16 and 17-year-olds of solicitation of sex trafficking. Members, individuals that try to buy sex from kids deserve to go to prison. They deserve to sit there and think about what they've done and hopefully change their life. But most importantly, we should do everything we can to keep those individuals away from our children that have a right to go to school, to exist in peace. The reality is, even if we reclassify this as a prison felony, the defendant is still eligible for probation. Members, I'm attempting to move this bill forward today in the hopes to work on language in the Assembly, but I truly hope and pray that in this instance, when talking about this very serious, very prevalent issue of adults purchasing sex for children or engaging in the purchase of negotiating sex for children, that we would focus less on protecting the criminals and more on the victims. We cannot sit idly by while children are bought and sold in California like pieces of meat in an underground grocery store. We must do everything in our power to stop the horrific abuses that are being perpetrated on children every single day.
Senator Eggman.
Thank you, Mr. President and members. I'd like to say, as a progressive, proud member of this body for the last 12 years, I'm done. I'm done with us protecting people who would buy and abuse our children. I'm done. I don't want to send more black and brown men to prison. I don't want more people in prison, but I don't want people buying girls. I don't want people buying little girls anymore. And I'm tired of saying it's okay and that we have to protect the men who do it. As a mental health professional and as a social worker, I can tell you I've spent my entire career working with people who have been wounded. I'm not going to say beyond repair, but they have been wounded to their core by the abuse that's been heaped on them, oftentimes by those that they love and look to protect them. And if their parents won't do it, then by God, we should. Again, I am not arguing that we open the gates to flood our prisons with people, but I am arguing that we have a moral responsibility to say enough. Enough. We have given away enough on this area, And we've got to move back into the center, or we all look like fools and laughing stocks. And what do we stand for? I asked all of you to watch the documentary that Senator Grove was in, Senator from Kern County was just in, that talked about this very place in Sacramento where girls are being bought and sold. Men are being given a little slap in the hand or a couple days, and then they're back out again, and they do the same thing. They get caught over and over and over again, and somehow that's okay. It's not okay. It is not okay anymore, and no more am I watching. Like I said, I'm leaving, but the rest of you who are going to be here for a while, let's get our stuff together and really start focusing on some of the important things. We talk about learning, and we talk about being safe. This is like at the core of it. And a lot of these kids can be throwaway kids. They're poor kids. They're kids of color. But they shouldn't have to live a life determined by what happens to them by others at a very young age, and by have the Democratic Party of California say it's okay. It's not okay. And I'm not doing it anymore, and I hope none of you do too. We have to be able to draw a line, and for me, I'm drawing a line. I urge your aye vote.
Thank you, Senator Eggman. Senator Nguyen.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too rise in support of SB 1414, especially actually the original one that protects all children. And when I say all children, we define children as under 18. We don't define them as under 15, under 5. Human trafficking is the greatest evil in our society. It's even worse when it comes to our children. And the good senator from Kern County stated that these individuals should go to jail. I'm sorry, to me, they should go to hell.